Alright, so in the next video, we're going to be talking about Photoshop and graphic design a little bit. I'm not going to be walking through the installation for Photoshop. I think it's fairly straightforward. You know, if you know how to install one thing, you know how to install them all. They do have a free trial for 7 days. Unfortunately, you have to sign up with your credit card information, and then what you can do is you can cancel it on the 7th day, and they will not charge you. However, after that, there's a $21 every month fee. So I'm actually going to be using an older version of Photoshop, which is from 2015, although I've been using Photoshop for, well over a decade, and even in 2002, 2015, whether you're doing, 2020 or 2021, they all pretty much have the exact same layout. All these icons you see on the left are exactly the same if they were like in 2002 or 2003. The overall workflow and, all the bars at the top, they're pretty much the same. They definitely add more features over time, but the general idea of everything and everything I'm going to show you is completely applicable regardless of what version you're using. And I think it's definitely a much more intuitive and, user-friendly program than FL Studio is. However, for today, I really want to just talk about how to install fonts and how to install Photoshop brushes. So in order to install fonts, you'll want to go to a website like dafont.com. They have, 50,000 fonts that are available. One thing that I think is really common for people that get into graphic design for the very first time is they try to pick, fonts, and they do things that are too over the top. They, try to go all out. They see something, for example, let's say if I go to fancy and then distorted, you got all these fonts and, some of them like, these look pretty cool, but they kind of all have, a place and a time. If they don't fit in with the theme of what you're actually trying to do, like for example, when I look at this one, I'm thinking this font might be kind of cool if you're doing something that's really industrial or, surrounded by electronics and you have like certain like electric effects going on. But some people might see it and think, oh, this looks really cool, and then put it on, a background that where it does not make any sense whatsoever. Like if you were just doing like a random urban scenery, it probably would look kind of out of place. So when you're really first starting out, it's probably a good idea to go with, a font that is a lot more versatile. For example, if I go to basic and then sans serif, like this is a really versatile font. You can use it in a lot of different areas. So I'm going to go ahead and click on download, but you have the opportunity to go through all of these and find something that you like. Feel free to download as many as you want. I believe most of them are free. If you go to download, all you need to do is wait for the file to download. I'm going to go to show in folder. Once you install it, you can right click, go to extract here. Now this folder had a lot of files in it, but these are the two that I'm looking at. I can see the icon is right here with the little A here. If I right click and I go to properties, it'll tell me that this is an OTF file, means open type font file. Alternatively, there's also the TTF, and they're, different types of files, but they essentially do the same thing. But it doesn't really matter which one you pick. If I left click on this, I can click on install right here, or if I go to this one right here, I can, left click on this, same thing, I can click on install. So all you need to do is click on install, wait for it, and that's it. You're all done. It really is that easy to install a font. If I were to go to, Microsoft Word, I can, go here. You can see I have the font installed on my computer. So really, it's not complicated at all. So definitely go in and have a field day. Install as many fonts as you can if you like them. It's really like a 2-second process. You find it, you download it, you go to it, show in folder. You can right click, extract. Now this one actually has a whole bunch of these different TTF files. What I can do is I can click on all of them, and I can right click and then go to install for all users, and then all you have to do is wait for it to finish. So that's all you really need to know to install a font. However, fonts are a really big deal in graphic design. They really can make or break, your graphic, especially an album cover, because a lot of the times album covers are very often minimal. They don't normally have very much more other than like a picture in the background and maybe some text on top of it. So it is really important that you have a pretty good arsenal of them. Now the next thing I want to talk about is how to install brushes for Photoshop. You can look up online. There are other websites. I'm going to be using this one called brusheezy.com. All you need to do is type in something like grunge brush. Grunge is really just a type of brush. So I'm just going to scroll down here. If it says premium, you'll probably have to pay for it. You can also filter so that you only have the brushes available. And coming down here, I'm going to click on high resolution grunge brushes. And grunge is really, kind of like the texture you see in the background here. All you need to do is click on free download. Now, if you get a icon like this, it'll ask you to sign up for Facebook. All you really need to do is close that out, and then you can click on free download again, and then it'll, do this. After, you wait 5 seconds, a download will pop up, and you can see it's downloading on my computer now. So if you click on download and it asks you to sign up via Facebook, you don't actually have to sign up. All you have to do is close it out, try again. After you download your brush folder, what you're going to do is right click and then extract. And if I go into this folder, I can see I have a preview. That doesn't really do anything. I'm just going to get rid of it. It just kind of shows you what it looks like. If you look at properties, it's nothing more than a JPEG file. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. What I want is this file right here. If I go to right click in properties, you can see that it is an ABR file. If it's anything other than an ABR file, it's probably not what you're looking for. Maybe try a different brush pack. But I'm going to go ahead and right click and copy this. Then I'm going to go to my PC, local disk. Now it might be in program files 86 or regular depending on where you installed Photoshop. I have it here. If I go to Adobe and then go to Photoshop, all you need to do is go to presets, then go to brushes. And then you can see that in the brush folder, we have, all of these files. They're all ABR. I'm going to right click and paste. So this is the new one that I just downloaded. You can see here they added in the file. DD Grunge background brushes. So now if I restart Photoshop, I'm just going to go to File, New, and I'm going to make a real quick little file just to show you how this works. If I go down here, this is the brush tool. If I go up to this little box up here, I can left click. And then you can see these are all different brushes I have. This is the newer one that I just installed. If I left click and then click OK, you can see that these are all the brushes that I just downloaded from that pack. So for example, if I left click here, I'm going to make it a smaller size. And if I left click in here, you can see it fills up with this particular grunge pattern. Now I don't really like brushes like this where it's very square. I kind of prefer brushes like this one where, around the edges, you can see that it's not so perfect. So I'm going to go back. All I did was type in brushes and I'm going to find something a little bit better. Like if I scroll down here, I can see I have these brushes. I kind of like the edges on these, so I'm going to go ahead and left click and download on this one. Again, if it asks you to join, just close it out. Free download. Then after you download the file, you go to extract. Going in here, you can see that this is an ABR file. I'll copy. Then I go to wherever I downloaded Photoshop, program files, Adobe, Photoshop, presets, brushes, and then paste. Once again, I've restarted Photoshop. Go to File, New, create a file. And, I have my brush tool selected here. I can go to this top drop down box. This is the new one. I just added the watercolor mask brushes. I'm going to go to OK. And these are a little more like what I was looking for because, you can see around the edges, it's not overly solid. There's a little bit of a fade. And that's kind of what I'm looking for right now in a brush. So you might want to download something like that. This is the one I downloaded. You could probably just type that in directly. But anyway, all I really wanted to cover in this video was to make sure that you know how to install brushes and how to install fonts. Hopefully you'll have Photoshop installed. And in the next video, we'll be talking about how to use it. I think no matter who you are, it's a good thing to have a working understanding of how to use Photoshop. Especially if you're a musician, you want to be able to create graphics for yourself. But, there are a number of times, even if I'm just like creating a meme and making a joke where I am incredibly grateful to have some ability to use Photoshop. So definitely download it, check it out. And, next video, we'll talk about how to use it a little more.